Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghost and Friends channel. We have Ghost Gambles and Brandie Bets here for week 4. This is our third week. Welcome, Brandie. How you doing?
Doing good. Would be doing better if I had a better week like you did last week, but it wasn't totally horrible, just wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, you've had games go down to the absolute wire now in both weeks. You very easily could have had a very big first week, and last week was kind of the same story. So, as we must, let's recap last week a little bit, and of course, ladies first. So, start us off. You can go through all of them, take your time, or as fast as you want, because there were some kind of nasty beats in there.
The nastiest beat, I think, had to be the Memphis team total over. I had Memphis team total over 22.5, and they scored 20 and had multiple opportunities in the red zone to score and either turn the ball over or just didn't score. So that one was really, really tough. And I'm kind of regretting not giving out Memphis plus 6.5 because Memphis won outright, and me and Ghost were both on that pick in our Pick'em league. So that one was super frustrating. Texas State plus 1.5 was also very frustrating. There were multiple opportunities for Texas State to win that game against Arizona State outright, and the cards just didn't fall in their favor. I mean, they were up by 14 in the first half and had a pretty poor end to the first half, and I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be downhill from there, but really they stuck together in the second half and had probably 3 different opportunities to win that game. So I would say those two, I still felt confident about the side that I was on. That just kind of how the cards fell in those two. Florida was just a complete disaster and miss on my part. So just chalking that one up to an L. That one was ugly. Not sure I'll touch that Florida team the rest of the season. I also didn't expect Texas A&M's backup quarterback to play in that game. So was really kind of banking on Connor being in that game and being really bad. So good call by A&M's new coach to play their backup, because he definitely played a lot better than Connor has all season. And then the 2 wins that I did have. So had BYU on the road at Wyoming, they covered. And then I had Colorado on the road at Colorado State, which was kind of one that a lot of people probably felt uneasy about, as I did myself taking that. But both of those, they kind of cruised to covering in both of those. So I felt good about those. And yeah, now Colorado has bragging rights for 5 years after beating down Colorado State. And there was some drama after that game too. So glad I had money on that one, because that one was just fun and entertaining to watch after the game. It's always interesting to see what is going to happen after a Deion Sanders coached game, with all the media hype around them and just some interesting stuff that they do. So I went 2-3 last week. I went 2-2 the week before. We're going to get in the win column this week though. But Ghost, you got to recap your week, because you had an awesome weekend, and I did tail a good bit of your bets and was on the same side on most of them in our Pick'em league. So
yeah, I mean, first, I once again, guys, Brandie's been all over the lines, 4 and 5 through 2 weeks. It could really, really easily be 7 and 2. I mean, Texas State, like you said, had 3 opportunities at the end of that game just to go get a score. They fumbled in a tie game that gave Arizona State that field goal in the lead, deep in their own territory. So they shot themselves in the foot. That one's hard to watch. Definitely wanted Texas State. And then, the Memphis game, I won't even talk about it because we lived through it together. It was a lot of pain. And
that was horrible.
It felt like it would be easy. Me
and Ghost were rooting for overtime in that game to cover the team total over at one point, because we're surely they're going to score. They had 20 in the third quarter. We're they're going to hit the team total over
halfway through the third. They had
early 20. In the third they hit the 20 mark, and I was okay, that surely they can get in field goal range or something. And they did. They were in field goal range multiple times in the rest of the third and fourth quarter. So yeah, that one was hurt the most, I think, out of all of them. At least the Texas State game was very entertaining and fun to watch. Yeah. So
a lot better football than Memphis Florida State was, which I know Florida State kind
Yeah.
of just does that to everybody. Like I don't know, they just drag everybody down because Memphis, that obviously won the game. They probably don't care. Happy to take a road win for sure, but not the cleanest game for sure. But yeah, we're definitely rooting for overtime there. It's funny because you're rooting for Memphis to score all day long, for 3 hours. And then that last like 15, 20 minutes where you're like, go 3 and out, punt, give it back to Florida State, let them have a shot to go down and send it to OT. But yeah, so I did have a big week. We went 4-1. Helps a lot after going 1-4 the week before. So even after that, I am only 5-5 through 2 weeks. But last week felt it happened pretty easy for us. We had Texas Tech and North Texas over 68.5. Texas Tech scored 52 in the first half. That's always good. It's 87 total points in that one. So sweat free, absolutely. And it feels good to start, your day off like that. But going back even further, the day before that, we had Kansas State and Arizona. Arizona giving up 7 to K-State there, opens with a touchdown. K-State has 31 unanswered, wins 31-7, so sweat-free.
Ghost, did you say that you picked Kansas State to win the Big 12 before the season?
Texas Tech.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
We can forget about that one. I was going to say that I really like how that's looking right now. Like Kansas State, I wouldn't write home about them for playoffs and going far in that, but I think they look good in the Big 12 so far.
Avery definitely impressed last week as far with his legs. He's still what happens when he's forced to win games with his arm, we'll see. But no, they do look, it's not that just easy to take away, his legs from him. He's a tremendous athlete. But yeah, every time he dropped back there in the second half, and I was kind of like, okay, Arizona has a shot to get back in here with a stopper, score. He would just kind of casually jog down the sidelines for, 15, 17, 20 yards. And it's like, okay. But the game I liked the most out of my picks, I think I said, was Boston College and Missouri, the under 54 in that one. It dropped down to 52, 51.5 right before close. And so I was like, okay, I think that's a good thing. But then some really weird things happened in that first half. There was the Boston College snap from inside their own 25 or 30-yard line that kind of went right by Castellanos. He picks it up, rolls to the left, and Missouri forgot that they were still playing defense. No one covered a receiver, like a casual little pitch and catch for a 70-yard touchdown. We had 31 points in the first half. I was kind of stressing over that one for a moment, but then that game slowed down big time, kind of the way I thought the whole game might play out, but only 17 points there in the second half. Missouri still has some work to do offensively, in my opinion. So we kind of had a couple of picks with them in the last few weeks, but so we've got South Carolina, they're +7 there. Never really sweaty as far as the spread goes, but a crazy football game. They definitely could have and probably should have won that one outright. And
I had a feeling once their quarterback went down because their backup quarterback played at Auburn and he was not very good there, Robbie Ashford. And so I was like, okay, please cover this for Ghost because Robbie, but it kind of speaks to how kind of poor LSU is this year. The fact that South Carolina was still able, at least their defense, South Carolina was still able to move the ball on their defense with their backup quarterback who's not good. So
they don't defend the run very well. They have poor run fits. They don't take great angles and they don't tackle well. And so with Lenore Sellers in there, I think South Carolina, they definitely hang on and win that game. It kind of did feel like, though, as soon as Robbie got in the game, that you're just hanging on for dear life if you're South Carolina, even if you have South Carolina and the touchdown. So just didn't see a lot of offense happening. But luckily, South Carolina forced a couple of turnovers. That helped a lot. They had the early magic with the block kick returns. But so those first four were sweat-free. My last game of the day was Tulane, +13, the only loss of the day. The closer to kickoff that game got, the more and more I disliked that pick. But we had it in there, and it just kind of felt like there wasn't going to be enough offense. I didn't expect Oklahoma to score 21 points there to start that game. But once Tulane rallied, I really wasn't surprised to see that at all. But yeah, we got a 5-point game with 11 minutes left. Really thought we had a shot with Tulane.
Almost came back.
Yeah, and thought we had a shot at the clean sweep, and then Oklahoma just kind of ran away late, scored a couple of late touchdowns. And so, 4-1 week, definitely not going to complain about it. Much easier to take that last last loss on the on the slate, I guess, when you've won the first four. Not that it feels good or necessarily, but and then I'll even brag further. The only lean I gave out was the UCF money line, and they had a crazy nightcap with TCU, a wild rally. If you took that game at close, took the spread, I think UCF was giving up 1.5 points. So you would have had to take the money line there. But on Wednesday when we talked about it, that's the only lean that I gave out. So yeah, as a team, 9-10 overall. Let's go to the pick'em real quick because Brandie continues to remain very, very hot in our college football pick'em. I believe you're still in second place, right, Brandie?
I think so. Let me pull it up and see.
I'm doing the same
now. That sounds about right. Yeah, I'm in second. I'm a point behind first place. I'm in second place right now. I'm 45 and 30 after 3 weeks.
Another 15-10 week, right?
Yes. Yep. Pretty consistent there.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about 3 straight 15-10 weeks, picking a bunch of games, not just the games you necessarily like or love. These are all random games. Yeah. And so what's up, Buzz? How are you, man? Sorry I didn't have that chat pulled up, buddy. Now we got you going. But yeah, so I once again struggled late in the day with the pick'em. I'm trying to remember what my record was.
I did too. My back end of it was not great.
We always start off hot. Like the last 2 weeks, I look up and we're both like 7-2. We're thinking we're gonna.
Yeah, we're like texting each other. We're like, "This is a great start to the day," and then the back half of it is just like, "What happened?"
Yeah, no messages at the end. But yeah. I am in 22nd out of the 56 competitors with an overall record of 36-39. Still trying to bounce back from a 7-18 week one. So slowly have cut into it. This is, I guess, the second straight winning week in the group pick'em. But Brandie, once again, out of 56 competitors, is in second place and is cruising. But now the games will start to get a little bit more difficult, I think, some of these conference matchups. So I'm hoping to get up there in that tier with you guys. So I got a lot of work to do.
Well, you can get there. I believe in you. I'm sure I'll have a losing week in there at some point.
I'd prefer you didn't. It's great for the channel and great for you. So stay high. I feel like if you go 15-10 every single week, that you probably in the end up winning that thing. So
yeah, I'll take 60% every single day if I can.
Absolutely. That's pretty elite when it comes to this racket. But yeah, let's start with you. Go ahead and talk about your first play for week 4 of your college football slate.
Yes, my first play is going to be North Texas -8.5. Similar to last week, I took BYU points on the road at Wyoming, and I'm once again fading Wyoming. North Texas plays Wyoming this weekend, and I know if you watch the Texas Tech game this past weekend, you're like, why would I ever lay points with North Texas? But I think this is going to be a get-right game for them, and Wyoming still has like a horrible offense, and their defense just like isn't that great. And I think this is going to be a really bad mismatch for them because North Texas doesn't have like a stellar defense, and when they're going against an offense that's just like pitiful, I think North Texas is just going to run away with this game early. I don't think that there's anything Wyoming can do to be able to stop North Texas's offense the way that Texas Tech was able to a little bit. But even then, Ghost was on it last week on that over. Texas Tech scored 66 on North Texas, which is like kind of scary betting on a team that just gave up that many points. But I would be very surprised if Wyoming can even put up like 21 points in a game right now. I just don't see that happening with this team. And I think that North Texas goes out there and puts up similar points to what they did against South Alabama. They put up 52 against South Alabama. Wyoming gave up like 48 points to Arizona State already this season. And I think it's a get-right spot for North Texas after getting blown out by Texas Tech.
And no, I like it. Just for reference, guys, like when Brandie and I discussed our picks together and sent over our 5-card or our 5-play card that we have, we both had North Texas on there. I'm very big bold on my notes. I just wrote Wyoming is bad because Brandie is absolutely right. Fading them makes a ton of sense until they really do catch up to Wyoming and how bad they are. I'm referencing the odds makers in Vegas and et cetera. But they're bad. They're really bad. North Texas is capable of scoring points. If this were even like 13 or 14, I'm not saying I would take it, but I would still be looking at it because, I mean, I don't think that Wyoming offense you talked about, they're going to be the worst unit of the four out there between all the offenses and defenses. There's just no way that, in my opinion, they score enough to cover this. Well, North Texas will go put up 30 plus on this defense. And like you said, you're not sure Wyoming can reach 20. So I like Brandie's first pick a lot. That to me, fading Wyoming right now just makes a lot of sense. Don't believe us, go look at who they played and those results. And none of them have been games. None of them have been close. And not the same Wyoming team of the past. And I don't know if that's why maybe they're still getting a little bit of respect. Maybe this week starting to change because giving up 8.5 to North Texas is pretty strong. But I like it. First, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think eventually the bookmakers are going to start catching up a little bit more. And even this week, I think they have a tad to Wyoming. But I still feel like this line should be a little bit longer than what it is.
Yeah, I know. I fully agree. North Texas is going to score. Chandler Morris should put a little bit more of an emphasis on protecting the football. I want to say, they gave up 66 last week, but they look bad on offense. I think both of his picks were pick sixes. I know one of them was. There were so many points in the second quarter. It was incredible to watch as the over-better. It was like Texas Tech passes for a touchdown. Chandler Morris throws a pick six for a touchdown. And it happened a couple times there. Fun times. Yeah. My first play on the card, the very first time Brandie and I were ever on this channel together was not for this segment. We both talked about Rutgers a little bit. And so I'm always kind of looking for Rutgers, to be honest, now that Brandie and I, we kind of shared a love for Rutgers, or maybe just a similar mindset and prediction. But I've got Rutgers plus 3.5 against Virginia Tech. And it's mostly because Virginia Tech is struggling right now defending the run. What do we give up? 243 at Old Dominion last week. Rutgers is coming off a bye week. Kyle Monungai is averaging 187.5 yards a game. Just hard not to like that. Rutgers is going to play defense. They're going to show up. I was high on Rutgers coming into this matchup before the season started. Haven't really been impressed with Virginia Tech. 3.5 to me is a little too much. If it was me, I'd probably have this game more of a pick 'em. But yeah, Rutgers will be in there with defense in the run game through the four quarters. Give me Rutgers winning straight up. To be honest, I'll let them take that one by a field goal. So Rutgers plus 3.5. Brandie, any thoughts on that?
I love it mostly because Virginia Tech is pitiful this year. And for a team that we were told going into the season was a veteran team that should come out strong, like they've been nothing but flat. And I honestly think Rutgers can go out there and win this game with a very, very vanilla game plan. Like that's how bad that I think Virginia Tech is right now.
Look at their matchup last year. I mean, it's similar teams and Rutgers smoked them.
Yeah, no, I know. And yeah, I don't know. Virginia Tech is bad. Their defense is not good at all. And I think Rutgers has not like a great offense by any means, maybe not even a good one, but like I think they have enough to score enough points in this game to come out on top. And Virginia Tech is just not good. And I'm all for fading like teams that are not good. And I don't know. They will have a get right game eventually. I just don't feel like it's this one. It doesn't feel like it, especially with Rutgers coming off the bye.
That's the big thing for me is a bye week. They've been dialed in on this. It's a matchup that played out well for them last year. So, I feel good about Rutgers plus 3.5 there. Brandie, what do you have for your second play?
My second play, this one might be a little bit gross for some people, but I really like Michigan State plus 6.5 on the road at Boston College. I know Michigan State's 1-2 against the spread this year, but the one that they did win was a 7.5 point underdogs on the road at Maryland this season that they won outright. So I like Michigan State, and I definitely like them in the underdog role. Both defenses have fared like decently well so far this season. And I think that Michigan State's defense will be enough to stop Boston College's offensive strength, which is their offensive line and their run game. So Michigan, I think this is really going to be a game that shows Michigan State's like how good their defensive front unit can be too. They've done well pressuring QBs. They've done well tackling in space too. And I just feel like Missouri's wide receivers kind of had their way with Boston College's DBs on Saturday too. And while Michigan State doesn't have like super crazy talent in their wide receiver room, or definitely not on offense in general, I just feel like there's a little bit of gap in Boston College's kind of defense there too. And really, I kind of lean the under in this game too. The line's like 45.5. And so I definitely lean the under if you're looking for a play there on the over under. More of a lean there. I haven't actually bet that yet, but another thing too is Boston College hasn't kicked a field goal at all this year. And so if this game goes down to the wire, I definitely favor Michigan State, whose field goal kicker has kicked some this year. Yeah, and I know Michigan State's the reason why I said it's disgusting too, or kind of gross, is because I know that this Michigan State team is really sloppy, but I think Jonathan Smith knows that. He knows his team has got a lot of penalties this season, and I think this is a game where they're going to finally clean things up a little bit. I know Boston College is at home, but also this is in an area that has a lot of Michigan State fans too. There's a lot of Michigan State fans in that part of the country, and so I think they'll have a decent home crowd, but don't really think that's going to play a massive part in this game or anything like that. So yeah, I like Michigan State plus 6.5 on the road. I don't know if they'll be able to pull out the win outright, but I think this is a spot where Michigan State can clean up some of those penalties that they've had and really showcase what their defense looks like, because I feel like that's a team that's just not getting talked about this season, and they're undefeated so far. Yep. I think they're undefeated, right? And I know they really haven't played many people yet, but I like them in this spot. And yeah, that's my second pick.
I feel like they might have lost a game, but now I can't think about who.
I don't know
who it would have been to.
Well, they beat Maryland outright.
They beat Maryland outright. Nothing happened, but point is, I like your play either way, whether they lost a game or not. I like Jonathan Smith a lot. He's going to have that team improving throughout the season.
Yeah, they're three.
They are 3. Good.
Yeah,
okay. And I think they improve throughout the season. Now it's going to be still, I agree, there should be a difference in talent between Michigan State and Boston College. Boston College is playing pretty well. Castellanos is a pretty capable quarterback, looked pretty good against Missouri at times. But, yeah, I just don't see a 6.5 points. That's a little too much for me. I wouldn't have it as more than 3, to be honest. I like it. I definitely was waiting to hear. I didn't look much into that one after you shared that with me. I was waiting to hear what you had to say about it. I like it, though. I hadn't looked much into that one, and that's not with Boston College coming off a Missouri game where like you said, it kind of seems like if Missouri wanted to push the ball a little more, that they could have had success. And then they kind of played with their food at the end and let Boston College back in it. Boston College really didn't look very good offensively, but Missouri's pretty good defensively. I'll give them credit there. I like it.
I think the biggest thing there is really Boston College's strength on offense is their run game, and that's the strength on defense is basically stopping the run for Michigan State. So that's kind of why that's the biggest thing for me in that too.
They should have a better defensive line than defensive line talent than what Boston College should have offensive line talent wise. I could see that being an issue for Boston College running the ball against that front. They'll put a big emphasis on stopping the run. I like it. I'll tell that. My second play, I have Ohio plus 20. Now they're going. I think I saw earlier in the day when I took this yesterday, it was at 20, but I want to say it was down to 19.5 earlier. I don't think it would go back to 20, to be honest. But Kentucky coming off that very, very tough loss to Georgia at home. Offense looked okay there for a minute for Kentucky, but it wasn't through the air. It was just running the ball. I don't know if that was a sleepy Georgia defense, but they did kind of punk Georgia for a minute on the ground and had a lot of success in that first half moving it around. It's a lot of points against a pretty dang good Ohio defense for Ohio. And Brock Vandegrift, who struggled a lot this year. The 6 points against South Carolina, 12 points against Georgia. The big thing for me is this game is kind of sandwiched between the Georgia games and the Ole Miss games for Kentucky. So you're talking about a bit of a letdown spot. Yes, you're coming off a loss last week to Georgia. You want to come out, perform well, clean some things up. But at the same time, Kentucky probably plays a lot of guys because you do have a huge game with Ole Miss coming next week. And so, this is a spot where I don't think they'll be trying to push, not that they're ever really trying to light it up offensively, but I don't think they'll be trying to do anything crazy as far as the second half, running up a score. Say if they were up 10 points or a touchdown, there won't be anything. They won't be pushing it. They'll take their time. They'll be glad to get out of here, in my opinion, with a 10 to 14 point win. Just a lot of points for a pretty experienced, stingy Ohio defense. I believe it was Tyus Anthony Tyus, had it backwards, is having a big year on the ground for Ohio so far. So between hopefully Ohio can run the ball a little bit and grind some clock. I think if Ohio can score 10 points, this is a pretty easy cover, to be honest. I just don't trust the Kentucky offense. So, I mean, Kentucky scored 18 the last 2 weeks. They're giving up 20. I don't see it.
I like it. I definitely, this is not one that I was looking at, but I think I'm going to tell you on this one, because just like how last week went, most people would be like, oh, Kentucky for sure, but I like it. I'm tailing you on this one.
Ole Miss next week, that's going to be a big thing. You want to stay healthy for that one. Obviously, you want to have your guys performing well and everything, but at the same time, I think they play a lot of guys. They run some clock themselves, and just happy to get to Ole Miss with a healthy Wildcat squad. So, all right, Brandie, pick 3. Where are you looking at?
Pick 3. Tried and true. I feel like Tulane first half -1.5. So Tulane's 1-2. Didn't cover the full game spread against Oklahoma. Understand that they didn't look that great in the first half against Oklahoma, but I feel like this is a game where they really are going to get right, and I trust John Sumrall a lot against this Louisiana team. I like the first half just because I think like Tulane is going to be pissed off from how the Kansas State game went. They're going to be pissed off from how the Oklahoma game went. I think they're going to come out there guns a-blazing against Louisiana to start it out. Wouldn't be surprised if Louisiana comes back in the second half and covers or wins outright. But I do think that to start the game off, that Tulane is going to go out there and really just light it up on offense against Louisiana. I think their offense is above average. They've already played 2 top 20 teams essentially and have done decent on offense. They're obviously a lot more battle tested than Louisiana playing those 2 teams. And so this to me feels like a get right game for Tulane. And I think that they're going to be just fired up and ready to basically run the score up on this Louisiana team.
I like it. Coming off back-to-back tough losses, Summerall's a good coach. He's going to have his team's attention, and a hot start will probably be pretty important because that's what bit them last week. They got down in a hurry to Oklahoma, and next thing you know, that big comeback effort they had, they're still down a score after even after scoring, what was it, 19 straight points or 19 out of 22. I don't know. Big comeback. Hoping that they can put it together for at least the first half. I like the first half best when you get there. You don't have to sweat the second half, and you're almost like, you won me, that you got me there. You won for me. It's like I would prefer that you hang on, but it doesn't matter ultimately if you do or not. And so I'm a fan of the first half bets. I'm glad you got one on your card. My third play now, I said last week I'd never do this again. And here I am, and I swear we're going to have a lot of issues if they can't come through for me. We've talked about them already on the channel today. Texas Tech -3 at home against Arizona State. Arizona State coming into the Big 12, and this is not me being ticked off with Arizona State about the Texas State game or the Mississippi State game from the week before.
If it was because of that, I support it.
Hey, here you go. Tech, obviously they had a little turnover help. We talked about that with North Texas and Chandler Morris last week, but Tech looked a lot better there. That offensive line, the game plan, everything, they went with their big back, Taj Brooks, who seems to be healthy now, is back in the lineup. But the offensive line is starting to get a little bit healthier. The transfer wide receivers that they brought in looked a little bit better with Baron Morton last week. And I like what I saw out of Zach Kitley, the OC. Now, Dillingham at Arizona State is kind of terrifying to give him points, and especially with this Texas Tech team. But I'm not a believer in Arizona State. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. Mississippi State lost at home to Toledo. Okay. I'm not impressed by that Arizona State win over Mississippi State. I wasn't really at the time because they looked really bad in that first half. Last week, Texas State up 14 in the first half, kind of not dead to rights. It's college football. Anything can happen. But Texas State shot themselves in the foot a lot in that game. And they're not built. Texas State is a G5 team. They're not built to play with Arizona State for 4 quarters. It's not this particular Arizona State team. Big and physical. Not really a passing attack. And that's where Tech is kind of they struggled with North Texas a little bit when they give up points in the first half. Obviously in week 1 with Abilene Christian scoring over 50 against Texas Tech. And Maverick McIver, I believe he's 500 plus passing yards in week 1 against Tech. So, but there's not that threat for Arizona State in the passing game. They really have looked really very, very kind of gross, to be honest with you. Cam Scadaboo and a stable of other backs have kept them going. I just, with a ton of possessions, a wild Big 12 game, I can see this game, the over-under for it is 60. If you kind of, almost say take that over as a hedge, I don't think there's a chance that Arizona State wins this game unless they score 30 plus, because I think Tech will put up points. It's kind of a low over-under, to be honest, for what Tech has done. 2 of their 3 games have had, 87 plus points. And the game that with Washington State that had around 50, there was a ton of opportunity for points to just, didn't really mesh out. But I like kind of that the over 60 as a hedge, but I'm locking in Tech -3. I think that Baron Morton and a Tech defense that's slowly getting healthier in the secondary, they'll be a lot better against the run than anything that that Arizona State has seen so far this year. And I think that if Tech is scoring the football and they put Arizona State more in a spot of having to throw the ball around, that definitely only favors Texas Tech in this particular matchup. A lot of respect to Coach Dillingham at Arizona State. Fun to watch so far. I don't think they win this one. Don't think they have a chance. Give me Tech.
You think
10.
Arizona State finally gets humbled?
I think it happens. I'm looking at like a 45-35 type game. I think we'll see a lot of points again, which that's 20 clear of the total, just in case y'all are wondering. But I'm not guaranteeing anything, Gage. Okay. But I will guarantee that there's a lot of points. I see that. I just don't see these offenses necessarily stopping each other much in the first half. But what do you think? I know that we got bit by Arizona State last week, and that I don't know what your opinion of Texas Tech is. Probably not a very high one the way I've talked about them some. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. This is so weird because these are both 2 teams that I have been on the other sides of multiple times. I was on Washington State when Texas Tech played them in that game. And then I was on Arizona State when they played Mississippi State, but I was on Texas State last week. And so I have watched a good bit of Arizona State football, not as much of Texas Tech. But I really don't know what to make of this Texas Tech team, because I feel like this game against North Texas was truly like a real get right game for them, but I don't know how much like validity we can put in that game. But with them being at home, I kind of do feel more inclined to take Texas Tech in the points here. I'm honestly surprised this line though is at 3. I kind of thought this line would be more of a pick-em line. I do like Dillingham's offense a lot. But yeah, I mean, if I were to take anything here, I would probably take the over, the lean that you had. And so I might end up tailing your lean there more so than like the actual line with Texas Tech. I don't hate the Texas Tech pick. I just don't feel very like convicted on an opinion there, but I do like the lean of the over because I don't think that these defenses are really worth much on both sides. And I like both of these offenses.
Yeah, the offenses are clicking. I mean, obviously, you know, Arizona State got hot in the second half of the Tech game or the Texas State game. I'm still saying it's more Texas State shot themselves in the foot. So maybe there is a little bias in this pick, but I like Tech here. I really do. But for anyone that fades that, I completely understand. Brandie said she's watched very little Tech football so far. The pick she did have against them was Wazoo. So I'm assuming she watched a little bit of that one. And I would absolutely not expect you to tell along right here after seeing what they did up there. And I guess that was in Pullman. Yeah, a rough one. Let's just call it how it is. All right, so we've got 2 plays each left. Go ahead, Miss Brandie.
Yeah, my second to last play is going to be Georgia Tech plus 10.5. I think, and this is against Louisville on the road. I think that the Louisville Cards are in a little bit of a look ahead spot. They play Notre Dame the week after. And they just really haven't played anybody yet. And Georgia Tech kind of has, I guess. They've played FSU. I don't know if you can consider them anybody this season, but and they played Syracuse, which they lost to Syracuse, which I was on Syracuse in that game in the Pick'em League, actually. But and they were favored, Georgia Tech was. And I like Georgia Tech much more as an underdog than I do as a favorite. And to me, this is really like a true like look ahead spot for Louisville type of play for me. That really is all like that I kind of put into effort for this piece of it. I like what Brent Key's doing at Georgia Tech. I think that he's good and he has them on the right path, and they're a little bit better than what they expected, but they are a little flawed in a sense. Louisville, we just haven't seen them play anybody, so it's like kind of hard to figure out like how good are they? They definitely have more talent than Georgia Tech, but I think 10.5 in a conference game is just too much, especially when Georgia Tech has played pretty decent this season. Like, they haven't been bad by any means. The only game that they
No.
haven't covered is the one that they lost. So,
no, I like it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, this one to me, I think like Georgia Tech, like this to me feels more like a one touchdown score. And yeah, I like the Yellow Jackets in this one. Louisville is gonna be looking forward to beating Notre Dame the week after, so they're gonna forget about the Yellow Jackets this weekend.
No, I like that. They are coming off a bye, but they've got 40 plus new members of that roster and haven't really played. It's really the first kind of tough contest for not a brand new team, but they do have a ton of turnover from last year. Haynes King has been really, really good. 9 total touchdowns, only 1 interception, completing over 76% of passes. Very, very good numbers there. So no offense to QB1 at Louisville, but he played at Tech. Very familiar with him. I like Haynes King in that quarterback matchup, and you're telling me I get 10.5 points. And Coach Brent Key. I'm taking that all the time. Not a knock to Jeff Brom. I loved watching him at Louisville. He made my Thursdays enjoyable back in the old Big East because Louisville I felt like they're always on Thursday night football. Them are Rutgers. That's what's the start of the Rutgers affinity. But I like Louisville.
These Thursday night games are still good too, even though they're not playing in them. Yeah, they're fun.
There's a part of me, mostly for basketball, but I just miss the old Big East so much. It was a massive part of my life. The old Big East tournament at MSG was like one of the highlights of my spring, just as good as March Madness to me. And so I just take it back. I had a memory back there sitting in the dorm room watching, hate to say it, but like Ray Rice and Greg Schiano's Rutgers teams. Oh, man. So fourth play for Brandie is Georgia Tech plus 10.5 on the road at Louisville. Big time game right there. I like Coach Key. I like the points. I like Haynes King in that quarterback matchup. I think that's a great pick. I will tell along. My fourth play, I struggle with this one a little bit. I'm going to take SMU plus 2.5 at home against TCU. TCU coming off a really, really hard loss to Central Florida last week where they didn't look very good on defense. Second week in a row kind of going against TCU here. It's a big-time rivalry game in the Metroplex. Now, SMU is coming off a bye week. SMU is coming off a loss to BYU. SMU is coming off a first couple of games where I guess their second week they played nobody, but their first week they should have lost to Nevada. They did not look good. They struggled very badly. Preston Stone has had issues. That's why they turned to Jennings at quarterback a little bit here. He is a two-way player or a dual threat player who I think will give TCU fits with his legs. And I think that they'll have game planned pretty well for him to play turnover-free football. And I have issues with TCU's offense, with their defense right now. That blown game. I know, yeah, obviously TCU probably comes out riled up and ready to go. This is a tough loss and a pretty good coaching staff. But since TCU's big run, obviously to meeting up with Georgia, losing, same coaching staff for the most part, but they just haven't looked very good. I like SMU getting the bragging rights there. We're getting a couple points. We'll see though. I need SMU to show up. Okay, it's a little bit like Tech. High on them preseason, struggled a little bit. So once again, if you fade, not offended at all whatsoever. I understand. But I'm trusting the old Mustangs to win that battle in the Metroplex, have those bragging rights. But I will say TCU Twitter is exponentially funnier than SMU Twitter. So shout out to the frogs that I hope I didn't offend too much with the pick.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to make of this game because isn't this the game where TCU fans like take over SMU Stadium like every time they play?
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
Like
It doesn't matter where that one is. Yeah, it's going to be mostly purple.
Yeah, and I will say though, SMU hasn't like looked as good, but they are going away from that like 2 QB system that they started off the season with. So I think they benched Stone, and I think that was a good decision by Rhett Lashley. Yeah, I really don't know what to make of this TCU team. The SMU team, I feel like I have a good read on them. I haven't figured out what I'm going to take on the Pick'em League for this one yet. SMU, like their offense should look better than what it has so far. And I think it will now that they've gone away from that 2 QB system. And so I don't hate it. Like them being at home, this is a rivalry game. Like, why wouldn't you take, you said the line's 2.5 or 3.5?
I got it at 2.5.
At 2.5. Yeah.
Has it still gone up?
I can take a look
Or
and
no,
see.
no worries. I didn't know if you were looking at it because you said 3.5, and I was like, dang, I could have waited a little bit. But no, it was at 1.5 yesterday morning, and went to 2.5 sometime mid afternoon. I just like their stable of running backs. I like Jennings at quarterback and what he'll bring as far as scheme wise. Like having to defend that kid's not going to be fun for a lot of those defenses in the ACCs. He's a very good player. Still has work to do with his arm. But I like Coach Lashley. Had the pleasure of meeting him one time. You could tell he was all about ball. But so
I
I've
worked
got
under him
SMU.
when he was at Auburn.
No way. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, he was offensive coordinator my first year when I worked in recruiting there. And so great guy, family guy. I think he's a good recruiter. I just think he needs to figure out how to get his defenses to be better, honestly.
Yeah.
But besides that, I like him. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a really good fit at SMU too, like for the long term. So
he tell him to stick with football. I've seen the golf swing, and there's a few things to work out there. Now I'm just giving him a hard time, but
that's funny.
I like their stable of backs that they have. Jennings at quarterback. I just once again I'm going in the quarterback battle here. Jennings over Hoover. Maybe I'm wrong. He had flashes last week where he actually looked pretty good, but give me SMU up there. I'll take that. Brandie, we've got one pick left each. It revolves around the same game, and we can both win, but we are picking different sides. So I'll let you go first and share yours.
Yeah, I texted Ghost my picks today, and I was like, please tell me you're not on the opposite side of any of these. And wasn't totally on the opposite side, really. But yeah, my last pick is going to be Tennessee minus 7.5 on the road against Oklahoma. I just think that this is a game where it's going to be really close and it's going to be back and forth. And I think Tennessee pulls away late to cover this game. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around this game because Heupel is going back to his alma mater for the first time to play against them. This is Oklahoma's first SEC game. And it's at home too. And really, like, this is the biggest game in a really long time in Norman because Red River Rivalry is always played at a neutral site and not played in Norman. And it's a night game. I know this place is going to be rocking, but Tennessee has gone into other places and won on the road too, like at LSU 2 years ago. So, I really like this Tennessee team, and I know a lot of people do, and I know that they're getting a lot of hype right now, but I feel like a lot of people like them because of Nico, which I do like Nico. I like them because of their defensive line, though. Their defensive line to me is like one of the best in the country. They have a top 8 like pressure defensive line and that's without blitzing too. So they're getting basically pressuring the shit out of the teams that they play without even having to blitz, which to me is insane. And I get that they really haven't played very many good teams yet. And NC State's offensive line is definitely a lot worse than what it was kind of hyped up to be going into the season. Still decent, but like it was a little overhyped. This OU offensive line, kind of similar to NC State's hype that they had in the offseason, it hasn't really panned out either. That's because of injuries. And I don't think that their evaluation in the portal was really good on the O-line, or like those guys just like haven't meshed very well there. Obviously not very impressed with Jackson Arnold either. I think this Tennessee defensive line is what helps Tennessee not only win this game, but also cover in this game. I know that Nico is really like a freshman quarterback, first true road test for him. So I am expecting him to turn the ball over 1 or 2 times. But I think even if he does that, Tennessee can still cover this line and win outright. I think this is a game that Oklahoma has to be perfect in if they want to win. I think this is a game where Tennessee can make like 1 to 2 mistakes and they'll still be okay and come out on top. That's how good that I think this Tennessee defensive line is. Yeah, there's just something. And also on the offensive side of the ball, outside of just Nico, Dylan Sampson's an incredible running back. And defenses are scared to let him run the ball, scared to let Nico throw the ball. And so when that happens, like I don't know if there's any stopping this Tennessee team, at least not right now, not until they play Georgia.
Great points. Obviously, Tennessee is very loaded, almost 700 yards per game offensively. The defense is fantastic so far. They made mincemeat of everybody. Obviously, North Carolina State was on the schedule. Now, I am on Oklahoma +4 in the first half. So before I get into my stuff, that is my fifth play. Oklahoma getting 4 in the first half. I expect a pretty insane Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. I need to take this Texas hat and shirt off. I'm about to sit here and talk about these Sooners for a minute, but I'm not trying to sit here and act like that place is going to be a cakewalk for any team to walk into this year. That defense now, that is, beside the crowd, the defense is going to be a huge part of this one. I think OU's defense is being heavily discredited in this game, very much slept on. I am not thinking that Oklahoma goes and wins this game. I think Brandie is correct in that Tennessee probably does pull away. I am staying far away from Tennessee -7.5 or Oklahoma +7.5. But in this first half, I expect a emphasis on a clean, very clean first half from Jackson and Arnold. They're going to get rid of the ball quick. They're going to try to find ways to get some of their solid playmakers. Nick Anderson should be back, which should free up Deion Burks a little bit. Taylor Tatum got involved last week. I feel sick right now talking OU football. Taylor Tatum got back into action last week, had 2 touchdowns on just a couple of touches. Obviously, very heralded recruit in high school, big time action now, and he got his first taste of it. Looked really, really good. Of the end zone. He's been on the field before this, but between, I get the concerns about Oklahoma's offense. Like I get it. Jackson has looked very human at times, but they also can't protect the guy. The offensive line, they're beat to hell. That's the issue. Offensive line, big time injuries. You're out your first, second, and third wide receivers. And I'm saying all that, and people are like, we're going to trust that offense sick against Tennessee. That defense will show up. OU will do a very good job in field position in this first half. I think that they will be very, very okay with, hey, if we get around the 40 or 50, they're going to have Jackson coached up to just do the best to take what the defense gives him. Do not turn the ball over, because if you turn the ball over to that offense, you are cooked. OU's defense has, 10 takeaways in 3 weeks. Okay, that's tied for the lead in the nation. I don't really like the total offense and total defensive stats because, no one's really played anyone yet, and we haven't seen, all of the defensive and offensive playbooks yet, but OU's only giving up 265 yards a game. They did play Tulane, not a terrible program. I know Temple and Houston, obviously, his offenses are struggling pretty badly right now. But, 10 takeaways. They're pretty dang good at defensive line. They're very, very good at linebacker. They're very good at safety and then at corner. Maybe not very good at corner, but I know Nico will challenge them. And there's going to be a lot of times where I'm probably very stressed out while the ball's in the air and it's just one-on-one with a Tennessee wide receiver and an Oklahoma DB. But Venables and a very, very experienced and talented Oklahoma defense, they're going to be ready for this one. They will show up. There's so much hype on Tennessee. Everyone is writing Oklahoma off. I guarantee, they are blasting that shit all over the locker rooms and all through, campus and that's what they want. They want to be told there's no chance here. And so Oklahoma backs against the walls in a sense, because you lose this one and you turn around and go to Auburn next week. Not an easy place to play either. And then you get the Horns after that. And I still think you have Bama, Ole Miss, LSU coming up after that. So huge chance for Oklahoma right here to shut up a lot of people. I don't think they do it. I think they still lose, but I do think they come out and play a very, very good first half of football. They'll find a way to move the ball to get in the end zone a time or two. But Nico's first road test. This isn't Charlotte against North Carolina State with almost, maybe a 60-40 North Carolina State crowd. If that, there were a ton of Vols in the house.
I said there would be too when we recorded that show.
You did. Yeah.
I knew it was where it was at. Yeah, I do. I think you're right. I think this is going to be a very close game at halftime. And so I actually do like that pick. It does feel like this is a game where Oklahoma State's defense is just going to get so worn down in the second half because their offense isn't going to be able to produce.
Right.
And that's why I like Tennessee to cover, but I still like your pick as well.
I'm so scared of it. And, last week, had a bit of a fade the public moment. And I feel like everybody is absolutely, let me cash out my 401k and take the Vols this week. And that scares the hell out of me. I don't like that. But Nico Iamaleava is going to have a lot of pressure on him. They will take the run game away. in my opinion, he will have to beat them. The Sooners will force Nico to beat them with his arm. And so that's where I start to look at it. North Carolina State turned him over. Even you, Brandie, you said you might expect a turnover or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if there's a line out there for Nico to have an interception, I would bet it.
It's a great prop in my opinion. But I too much firepower overall for the Vols. So like I don't mind Brandie's 7.5 point pick. I'm going to roll first half, roll with the Sooners, and expect them to come out, give maximum effort in the first half, and find a way to put up a couple scores and maybe confuse Nico early in the game. And of course, he might figure them out as time goes on. But it's what OU did to us last year, not trying to tie it together, but they kind of jumped on us early last year. We had a few turnovers. Literally the first play from scrimmage, we turned it over. And so it just kind of shades of the same. Nobody gave Oklahoma a chance in that game.
True.
Good game plan from Venables. But yeah, Brandie, go ahead if you would. Or actually, before we have you read off your 5, did you have a game that almost made the cut that we try to cap it at 5? So did you have a lean in there that you liked a lot that just couldn't have room on the card?
Yes, I did, but let me pull it up here just to make sure the line hasn't moved before I give it out. Okay, it's still minus, or not minus, sorry. I this week really like Kansas money line. I was trying to see what the line was, and it won't load.
It was. They were getting 2.5 earlier. I haven't seen it in a few hours, but
okay, it was okay. Cool. I think it was like 1.5 when I looked, but okay. I think it's moved back and forth all week. But this West Virginia team, just to me, is like super unimpressive, and Kansas needs to kind of get right this weekend. And I know it's on the road at West Virginia, but I don't ever want to count out a Lance Leopold coach team. I still really do like their offense, and actually their defense was still, kind of impressive against UNLV, even though they lost that game. Ghost and I were both on the other side of that. We were on UNLV, so we picked right in their pick'em league in that game. I think it was a pick'em league, right? Or maybe
it was.
It was okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Kansas money line. If you can get if Kansas is minus 1.5, I like the money line there. If it's minus 2.5, I don't think there's any point in playing the juice there. But I would say Kansas money line is my lean. So
you said they were favored by 1.5 now? Is that what you just saw? I saw they were 2.5 point dogs earlier.
Okay.
That could be wrong, but that was
I think you're right, actually.
Random offshore account. I like it though. I mean, Kansas is. I think
they're
Kansas
still 2.5 point dogs. Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I don't know what I was looking at.
That's even better. You still say money line there, or do you think points first?
I would still say I lean money line there. I think Kansas is going to outright win this game. So,
like you said, they need it. Jalen Daniels can't look any worse, and they've still been in the 2 games that they've just lost with Illinois. So they had to kind of give both of them away with giving up late scores there. That was a really weird finish to that Kansas UNLV game. Obviously, the fumble.
That was a crazy. That to me was like the most hilarious play this season in college football. But also too, like Kansas, yes, it's coming off extra rest since that game was a weeknight game. But also West Virginia is coming off like an emotional loss in the backyard brawl to Pitt this weekend too. And so both teams are like, we need a win right now. And normally I'd be like, oh, I'll take the home team, a short line here, but I'm taking the coach who I think is better, the team who has a lot more depth, and not only depth, but experience, and the better quarterback and the better defense. So I like Kansas money line
and the points. Here. I like it. Oh yeah. Okay. Money line. I like it a lot.
I like money line. I'm going money line. I'm just putting out. I think they win this game.
I think there's a good shot of it. They need it. And a program that's been on the rise a little bit. And hi Nash. Missed you, buddy. Nash is so cool, man. But I like Kansas football, and so I lean Jalen Daniels. He's really kind of disappointed me here to start the year because I had him as a sleeper on for my Heisman as on the college or on our prediction show on this channel, and he's really, really struggled and kind of cost Kansas those last 2 games because the defense has kind of showed up. But once again, you can't get a stop every single time. You're going to concede points in these, and the offensive coordinators and quarterbacks are so good nowadays, and I don't know. Did you watch the UNLV quarterback? What's this kid's name? He was a trooper on this. It's like
I forgot
Salute.
his name.
God, it's gonna drive me crazy.
But I love
Running
the guy,
back.
their offensive coordinator, who used to be the wide receiver coach at Texas, right?
Yeah, Brennan Marion. There's mixed. I think there's mixed opinions about old Brennan and Austin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about some of those things. It's all about perspective. But yeah, I do like his offense. It's funny because my brother is a Division III coach, and we were talking about a defensive coordinator at a school who absolutely cannot stand that go-go offense that like Brent Marion runs. And he was like, yeah, it's hilarious. He was like, anytime the guy, he can hear it be brought up 100 yards away and he somehow he'll hear it. You know, it's like he's just a special hearing for the word go-go. And he'll be like, oh, that offense isn't shit. I shut it down every time I face that guy. You know, so it's anytime now that I think about Brennan Marion, I can't help but think about this random defensive coordinator who just thinks he owns, you know, Brennan Marion out there. It's pretty awesome. But I did have a lean that almost got on the card, and it's kind of like you know, fading a bad Wyoming team right now. And I don't mean to hurt your feelings, Brandie, but Cal giving up points to Florida State, like I haven't locked that in you know, and that's a long road trip. Cal just, you know, they made a long trip here not recently ago, somewhere in the Southeast, not sure where, but
Are you about to take FSU?
No,
Okay, good,
I can't do
good.
it. No, I'm just saying if I haven't locked that in or anything, but like I definitely will be looking at Cal there because it's just crazy to me that
I think I'm taking Cal.
Any Power 5 team is giving up anything to Florida State right now. They looked absolutely abysmal against Memphis offensively, and fade away, fade Wyoming right now, fade Florida State, especially if you're getting points. Like Auburn probably made Cal look a little better.
Cal has the QB advantage, okay?
Absolutely. Everybody does. Yeah.
If he's healthy. I don't know if he's healthy. If I don't know if Mendoza's healthy or if James healthy. I need to look at that. But
yeah, that's a reason why I gotta wait for more on that. Why I said I'll be watching Cal, but it might not matter. I might. They're just they 0-3? Did they quit?
Off of a bye week. They lost to Memphis at home, a G5 team off of a bye week.
That's why I'm thinking the psyche at some point, you know, it's like you either there's a big
at what
resurgence.
Point are like the players like checked out, you know?
It's just a different era. And not trying to, like I said, maybe Norvell has complete control of the team, but it doesn't look good over in Tallahassee. None whatsoever. So okay, Brandie, read off your 5 picks to us. Because this is it. This is a 4-1 at minimum week, speaking it into existence for you.
I love it. We're manifesting it. All right. I have Michigan State plus 6.5, North Texas minus 8.5, Tulane first half minus 1.5, Georgia Tech plus 10.5, and Tennessee minus 7.5.
I like it. Let's go. I will be telling on everything but Tennessee. Okay, I can't do that. I can't do Oklahoma first half and Tennessee.
I know. I understand.
Like a live bet on Tennessee.
We're both cashing on that one. So
there we go. The middle didn't work out for us last time, so we found another way. We'll get there. All right, my 5. We've got Rutgers plus 3.5 at Virginia Tech, a terrible Virginia Tech run defense, and a monster Kyle Manuga at running back for Rutgers. So Rutgers coming off a bye as well. They won the matchup with Virginia Tech last year, 35-16. Ohio getting 20 at Kentucky. Kentucky has Ohio at home, an experienced Ohio defense, a good run game for Ohio. Had Georgia last week. I'm sure they're a little bit beat to hell, and they got to get right because you got Ole Miss coming. All right, I think they go to Ole Miss next, and so that's huge. I think Ohio will be trying to run clock. I think Kentucky will try to run clock. They're going to want to get through there with 10 to 14 point W. They'll be more than happy with that, and then they'll roll out of there and get ready for Ole Miss. SMU, okay, I'm trusting you guys getting 2.5 with TCU. Go win that battle in the Metroplex. I like Jennings over Hoover at quarterback. I like your running backs over TCU's. Now, that front 7, you know, if they get it done, then I think we'll be all right. It's going to come down to those guys and dealing with TCU's athletes. Then we're looking at, so we've got Texas Tech. Okay, guys, man, SMU, reading off the SMU and Tech picks back to back. I need you guys, both of you. Tech giving up 3 at home. Arizona State, I think too much firepower on offense, a pretty good offensive line that was a little banged up. It kind of looked like they gelled a little last week. Give me Tech at home covering the 3 points with Arizona State. I do lean that over, okay? If you need a hedge on that game, I like taking that as kind of an emotional hedge because the tech pick feels a little dicey considering what Arizona State's done so far. And then lastly, Oklahoma +4 for the first half. Sooners come out hot and find a way to get in the end zone early and then hopefully confuse Nico for at least 30 minutes. So I like what we have. It's time for what we had. What was last week overall? 5-4. So we did have a winning. 6-4. So we did have a winning week overall last week. Let's crank that up. 7-3, 8-2. Get the people's trust. Anything before we go, Brandie?
I think that's it.
All righty, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in and watching. Please like this video. Show Brandie some love. She's doing an amazing job as our co-host. Subscribe to the channel, okay? Got a lot of fun things going on. For any Longhorns watching, I had Gunnar Helm starting tight end for UT. I had his dad on earlier. Fantastic interview. A terrific Longhorn family. That's he tells you a little bit about being a part of, our Longhorn family. And so cool story there. Tomorrow night, got a starting linebacker, Drew Kelson, a member of the 2005 National Championship team. He'll be on as well. So, yeah, show some love to the channel, please. We're trying to do a lot of cool things for you. Brandie, once again, thanks for doing it. And good luck, everybody. Please gamble responsibly.